kids, this is Jazz bringing you another part of things that children said that ended up making a huge impact or did. This is part 3, I believe. I'm going to try to make these parts a little longer for it. I won't be as, many of them because I want to make other videos kind of like it and I have some stuff planned for it. But number 13 of 26. When I was about 9, my mom came home or came to pick up me and my brother from a Christian summer camp. My family has never been religious, but I think my mom didn't mind my brother and I spending an hour or two a day in church if we spent the other 14 outside hiking, fun, swimming, etc. Anyway, on the car ride home, my mom asked us something like, "Did you guys learn anything?" And I responded by telling her that all Jewish people go to hell. Oh my god! What? Really? For what? Really? What type of churches is, I know they're Christian, whatever, base, but who in the hell would just, to their face to a kid, all Jewish people go to hell? Really? Whatever. My mom said, "But what if they were good people?" To which I responded, "It doesn't matter." Wait, it doesn't matter, Mom. They haven't accepted Jesus as their one true savior. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but apparently it bothered my mom so much that she never took us to church again. Well, I wouldn't blame her because they're drilling stupid crap in those kids' head like that. Personally, as long as they're good people, I don't care what race, what religion they are, what gender, what, you know what I mean, who they like. To me, as long as they're decent people. That's just a thought for ya. Alright, this is from Umbre 1214. Alright, the next one. This is kind of odd, but when my parents divorced when I was just 6 years old, my mother kept the house we lived in, and my father built a new house next door. Wow, I guess they're still close to each other. All because of me. He didn't want to be an every other weekend dad, even though he paid child support that way. I grew up in a small town and the two houses were probably 300 yards apart, with just some woods separating them. I had a bedroom at each house and would alternate houses each night. It created a weird dynamic, but could see either parent whenever I wanted. Walking back and forth between houses day after day had worn out a pathway in the woods between the two houses. When I turned 18 and moved away, my mother also finally sold the house a couple years later and moved. Just recently I visited my father in my hometown and walked to the edge of the woods. There's no trace of that well-worn path anymore, but I can still see it in my imagination and remember the sacrifice my father made to be with me. Neither ever realized it at the time. Neither even realized it at the time. Well, this goes to show that the father could have moved miles away and only seen their kids every once in a while, but this father, even though he couldn't live with the mother, decided he can't be too far from his kids. That is a big sacrifice, I'd say, that he made. This is from Skibbles and Sits. Okay, guys, I have to calm down because that name is too funny not to laugh at. Alright. When I was just little, I want to say 2 or 3, I was in my high chair at the table. My mom was off doing something and my dad was playing video games. Typical father, my dad got up and started doing something else and noticed this. A 2 or 3-year-old boy calmly sitting at the table in a half-light, multi-lighted dining area, eating his dinner very politely, without noise, complaint, or a second thought. It hit my dad so hard. The saddest sight, he says, he's ever seen. His 2 or 3-year-old already adjusted to eating dinner alone. He stopped my mom. They came over and turned on the lights, and sat down and talked to me while I ate. To this day, even though I'm 20 and trying to get life worked out on my own, they make sure I'm not too lonely. I love my parents. Typing that made me notice the onions that were being chopped in my room. Stupid onions. No, he was crying. He was crying. Kylo was crying. But I mean, that is a really good thought. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing wrong or right, or, for example, you don't know what is good. Like the fact that this kid was sitting by himself, so quiet, and like his mom was doing something, his father was playing game. As I said, like a 2 or 3-year-old being alone. I mean, the father really got it. That the fact that the kid was so polite means he must have been used to it. Like, I mean, personally, I know people get busy, but sometimes you should just take time and sit with people and, yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't think I sat and eat with my aunt at all in, like, forever. Since, like, maybe Thanksgiving. This is more of a vice versa, okay? Last week I received an email from my daughter's teacher. They were doing a project on who is the most inspired person to them. Most of the kids put cartoon superheroes, movies, singers, and the like, and so the teacher was able to have the kids print those pictures off the net. It turned out my daughter listed me, so would I be so kind to reply with a picture of myself? I was blubbering mess for a good hour. I was so surprised because I don't exactly consider myself Father of the Year. I'm now much more aware of how I act around my daughter now that I realize how much kids pay attention to things their parents do. Anyway, when she was born, I set up a Hotmail account for her, and I email the account once a week as sort of a journal, telling her about things she's done or I've done. And what happened that week, I plan on giving her the password to the email address when she graduates high school. And I'm sure this email her teacher sent is one of those favorites where she realizes the impact she's had on me. Oh, like that's one of those sweet, sweet moments. Like, I don't know how old this kid was. Wait, okay. It doesn't even say the grade, but she must be at an age where her father is everything. And like when we become teenagers, we're like, give us our space. We're getting into that age. But as kids, not that kids cannot be sassy or have their moods, but they see parents in a different light. Not saying all of them do, but a lot of them do. So that was IPE. Okay. Enough. Alright. Number 17. When I was little, I noticed my parents drank a lot and they fought. I one day told my mom that it's bad they have beer. My mom was shocked I made that connection and took beer out of the house for good. I was maybe 10, it was maybe 10 years later, and I asked them why they didn't drink at home, and she told me that story, and it saved their marriage. Wow, wait, really? Such a sweet story, well, not a sweet, but such a revelating story, and the name is Satan McPants? Sometimes, guys, these names make me think less seriously about these stories. Alright, 18. When I was 9, I told my mom that she would die of cancer and leave me an orphan if she didn't stop smoking. And she stopped smoking. Well, I didn't know it was that easy. It's good. It's good it worked out that well. It is. But how did it end that, like, quickly and that easily? If I went up to my aunt and said, you're gonna die of cancer if you don't stop smoking, she knows that. But it is hard to do. I mean, if you're an avid smoker or drinker, it is hard to just stop. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen that way in that case, and it's great that it did, but I just think it's kind of funny how she just stopped smoking. I mean, I know if you were just what am I thinking? What's the best word? If you're only an occasional drinker and had the occasional cigarette, you know, I mean, okay, once you have a cigarette, I'm sure you're hooked, unless you hate it the first time you have it. But with drinking, it's a bit different. But I mean, if you have a smoke and you like it, it's hard to not be addicted. I mean, I never had this, so don't anyone watching who knows me, don't get me wrong, but just from what I've read and what I can tell, it isn't that easy. But maybe for her, this woman's case, it was, so good for her. On Snit's Snap. Man. Okay, 19, not me, but my older sister has a good one that really impacted my mom. She's 7 years older than me, maybe 5 years old at the time, okay? She's sitting in the back seat of my mom's car on her way home from a play date or a birthday party or something. Yeah, that's way to say it. If you don't know what it is, a play date or a birthday party or something. She's telling her mom all about her friends, and she gets to this argument she had with some boy. Let's call him Timmy. I have no idea what his name actually was. She said something like this. And Timmy told me Santa wasn't real. But I said what has to be real because my mommy would never lie to me. Right, Mommy? Oh! Oh, I apologize for kids who are watching this. I am really sorry. I should be put a warning in this video. As this all happened before I was born, my mother was terrified to even suggest the idea that Santa is real to me. Wait. Even that. Oh. I see, like, she felt bad about lying. Alright, 20, just a few more, I think I will finish it this video. I caused my parents to get married. They're still married too. I'd say it was a pretty big impact. Well, the shortest one, but yeah, good for you. You got your parents married and they're still married, so she did something right. It's funny, I guess the stories are going to be pretty long here, yeah, the next few. Alright. I didn't have a happy childhood until I met my father. Wait. Was it one of those mothers who didn't introduce their father? Wait, when I was very young, my mother introduced Min into my life by telling me in private that are you serious? Min! Your dad. Be very nice so he'll stay. Oh my god. That type of mother. I mean, that is awful. I mean, I don't know how many types of mothers there are like this, but this particular type really. Oh my god. Whenever the men left, which was usually a month or so, which was usual after a month or so, and another came into the picture, she didn't tell me I was wrong. He wasn't your real dad, but this one is. I don't know whether she was hoping to get a father for this kid, or she, was just trying to get her to like men that came into her life. I don't know. Okay. Wait, what is? This happened a handful of times, and each time I was heartbroken. I didn't know why, because I wasn't even 6 years old at the time when this was going on in our lives. I just felt like every single person who was my dad kept leaving me. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, my mother dressed me very nicely and had a talk with me as we rode in the elevator. She told me that the man we were seeing was definitely my birth father. So when I see him, I had to run up to him and hug him and say, Dad. She told me that if I did this, she would be very proud of me for being a good girl. Being young and frightened of my mother, yes, it was one of those moms. I spent a good portion of the time trying to please her. So when we talked we walked into the office, I saw this man standing there, looking very upset and angry. Oh my god, he frightened me, but I was more frightened of making my mother upset. I ran up and hugged him and said, "Dad." I don't remember much. He sat me in front of his computer, asked me if I ever played a computer game, and he set up Pong for me. When I said I didn't, I remember them arguing, but he was so nice to me. Sooner or later, he ended up marrying my mother. She isn't a nice person. Whether he threatened to leave, my mother told me to beg him to stay. I did as she asked because I selfishly wanted. So one guy she liked, I didn't want to be left alone with her, and in a short time he was in my life, I needed him. He stayed. On my 16th birthday, he told me he wasn't my birth father. I always knew that he wasn't my biological father, but I also wanted to believe that he was. It hurt very much when he told me. The illusion of having him as my birth father just shattered. It hurt because I wanted a good parent. At that moment, I felt like I was the devil's spawn, and I started living in fear that genetics would hold my senses and I'd end up just like my mother. I cried, he cried. He told me that blood meant nothing, and I was still his daughter. A few months later, I told him to leave my mother. I told him I would be okay, but that he had to leave. He had been speaking to a woman online for over a year and fell in love with her. We even met her under the guise of finishing college campuses, and I liked her. So I told him to leave. I always felt guilty for asking him to stay, even if I was just a kid who didn't know better. He left with my blessing just about 4 months after I turned 16. The last thing I remember with him hugging me and telling me that goodbye really meant I'll see you later. That was the last time I saw him in person. Are you kidding? What? Wait. Last time you saw me in person. What does this mean? What? Wait. I. Okay. Let's continue. This messed up. Last time you saw her in person. If they're that close, they should have at least kept in contact. I lived my messy teenage years and left my home to build my future. I followed all the advice my dad gave me through the years he was in my life. It's okay to have sex before you're married. Use college to find yourself. It's okay to try drugs, but be careful and don't let yourself get addicted. Don't be afraid to question authority. I did it on my own, all the while thinking about his life and hoping he was happy. I spent all my years after he left trying to be the daughter he could be proud of. All that time I lived my life in a way to thank him for all that he could try to do for me. To this I owe my strength to this man. About 6 years ago I found him online. I sent him a few emails and he never emailed me back. What? Are you serious? I had gotten engaged and I was very sad because I didn't have my dad walking me down the aisle. My family had vilified him for abandoning us, and to be fair, he did leave without a single word to my mother. I guess that's why I never really tried to find him at that point in my life. It took about a year before he finally sent me a response. He was afraid that I hated him, and he riddled with guilt for leaving, so he didn't want to contact me. But his wife, the woman for whom he left my family, told him to talk to me, so he found the courage to. We chit-chatted for a while, laughed over silly happy memories, and avoided the proverbial elephant in the room. Eventually I thanked him for my life, and he just kind of laughed at me. He told me that I was actually the person who saved him. He was a miserable person before he met me. His life, while fairly glamorous, was empty. He never wanted kids until he met me. The moment I wrapped my arms around him and called him Dad, which was the mother's idea, he loved me. He loved that I listened, that I cared, that I wanted to learn. He felt like he finally had a legacy. He learned what he missed all those years. He hated that he had to suffer together, but he would have made the choice again and again. because he felt like it was his purpose. He told me that I was the reason he stayed, and I never had to beg him to stay. For the longest time, I thought I was the worst burden in his life. All I did was need him, and for him, that was all he wanted. Wow. Wow. That's just really deep. Really deep. Alright, so we have a few more left. 22. My dad's 40th birthday, we decided to drive to Disney World from PA, a 17-hour drive. He's a big deadhead. Wait, deadhead? What? Alright, my older brother 13 and I 9 decided to use my brother's computer to make him a mix. Wait, okay. But in a very sneaky way, we make a fake creative write promo for my English class as a way to ask him what his favorite playlist would be. He was none the wiser. On the third CD of the mix, we slipped a song in of us singing Happy Birthday. Well, that would probably break his eardrums. No, I didn't know at the time, but apparently it was the night shift that song came on. The combination of all his favorite songs on this thoughtful mix and his son singing him Happy Birthday was overwhelming. He pulled over, woke my mom up, and they cried together from happiness. I never knew about it until a few years ago. Oh. Just a fool. Okay, every good story sometimes is ruled by the names. But anyway, 23. When my dad took me to Disney World, he was still a smoker. One day after a fairly long day of rides and such, I wanted to go on one more ride. He said, okay, but first let me have a cigarette. I said, nah, it's okay. We can head out then. He quit smoking then. Wait, okay, again. How can someone just quit that easily? I mean, this was even less of a reason for him to quit, because, I mean, I'm trying to think how to explain it. At least the other one mentioned the risk of smoking, that she would die of cancer. This one, no, so I quit because I ruined my kid's fun? That's pretty much what it sounds like. It is. Alright, last few here. So we will finish this off this time. 24, 26. Apparently, I guilted my dad into sobriety, though I have no memory of it. Early Saturday morning, after cartoons, I tugged on his sleeve while he was sleeping off a hangover. He rolled over and yelled, leave me alone. So I screamed and ran away. He said the look of terror on my face convinced him to stop drinking. Hey, well, yay! Like, leave me alone. I'm sorry, rail boy. 25 and 26. Just found out a few months ago that I liked pulling on my mom's earrings when I was a baby. And eventually, I ripped them both out one day. She had to have plastic surgery to fix her earlobes, but didn't have the money for the procedure until a few years later. I'm 22 now, and she still wears her hair so that no one can see her ears. Feels bad, man. Whoops. Okay, 26. I was born. Okay, what is this? The start of a story or something? A life story? Whatever. I was born, my dad had to sell his sports car to pay for the birth, then spent the next few years biking to work. Wow, kid. He could have had his sports car, but because of you, he's riding a bike. Well, I suppose that saves on gas, huh? That is one positive that comes out of it. I mean, simply though, the beginning, I was born. What a way to change your parents. Well, I suppose when a kid's born, it changes the parent's life forever, especially if it's their first, but, wow, kid, because of you, your father has to ride a bike. Well, as a saves on the gas, and it may not be as efficient, but you don't have to pay like every few days or every week for gas. So, Wally Sard, or Wally Sard. Good for you. But anyway, guys, this was part 3 and the final part, I guess, of the how the kids changed their parents' life by doing or saying things. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a big thumbs up. I make videos every day. If you're new to this channel and you like what you see, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.